All right, welcome to a new week of teaching crypto. Please hit that like, that subscribe, bell notification, and super chats are open. Mr. FOMO, just another boring weekend. Uh, that you were so bored you had to go on the air Friday night. Now, since your
By
show,
myself.
and if you haven't seen the last three shows, we've got some great numbers, so check them out. We appreciate everyone that is following and supporting the show. Um, since you went on the air, Bitcoin has actually recovered back to 106K. Um, you know, at the beginning of the war, it went down to 102, and now it's up to 106. So it's nice to see. Look, in the past, Bitcoin. We talked about this off the air. Bitcoin didn't experience anything. Talk about COVID all you want. After the initial shock was over, there was a lot of normalcy. There was peace in the world. COVID didn't provide any of this resistance globally that Bitcoin has seen in this cycle. This cycle is something we haven't seen before with Bitcoin. That's the reality. And to be at 106 to me is extremely impressive. I know we're disappointed there's no alt season, but how can there be with all that's going on? The fact that Bitcoin is 106 is very, very, to me, encouraging for now.
I would agree. I think it's very encouraging, and I think we should all take a moment and recognize how resilient it is, because 106, I was surprised after missiles started flying between Iran and Israel, to see it bounce back like that. I thought for sure we were going back below 100. And I hate to be a wet blanket, but a protracted engagement in the Middle East does not sound good for any market. But then if there is U.S. involvement, I think that you could see a significant dip in Bitcoin and in the traditional markets. But let's all take a moment and stare off into the middle distance and just really appreciate the fact that Bitcoin is at this point, and let's wonder where Bitcoin would be if we didn't have these trade wars, if we didn't have these, the war in Ukraine, if we didn't have, a potential what is seems to be a war in the Middle East now. Where would Bitcoin be? Let's all just imagine. I have a feeling we'd be experiencing these great new all-time highs and possibly an alt season. But because these things are watering everything down, I have a feeling we're not going to get what we would have gotten and should have gotten during this bull run.
And that's reality. I agree with everything you've said. Looks like the Fed probably could shock us. Probably not going to change anything on Wednesday, so that's not super bullish. But again, um, eventually, I do believe Bitcoin will find its footing, and we will see all-time highs. I think. I don't know about the rest of this month, but I do still believe in the bull run. And again, this bull run is going to be different. Already has been the last ones. We're going to see Bitcoin, I still believe, hit 150 to 180. Now, the problem is, and I haven't discussed this with you, because of what's going on, is it possible we top off well below October because things around the world escalate even worse? I hate to say it, but there are some major players sitting in the on the sidelines that could be drawn in to these wars, and I, if that happens, right? Russia is involved, but I don't think Russia is using all their might. China is sitting on the sidelines. We're going to talk about a country later that is now a nuclear power that's sitting on the sidelines. There's a lot that could go wrong. We're not trying to scare people, but you know, a lot of people in leadership positions are making horrible decisions. Let and this is not a political show, so I'm not going to do a half hour on that. But I think there are people uh, that still think business as usual, that the world is operating just like it did in the 80s and 90s, and it's just not the case. And they're shocked. they're sh- they're shocked when they go to the grocery store and things are more expensive, and They're like,
They're going
oh,
to be
what's going on?
shocked when they go to the gas station and things are more expensive. That's coming very soon, and people aren't realizing that, the stress in the Middle East is going to put stress on the price of gas, the price of oil.
Yeah, they're shocked because they don't do any research. And unfortunately, there are some people that just flip on the TV and they rely on, let's put it, legacy media has failed a lot of people. A lot of people. Their number one
Actively
job,
failing.
their number one job is to make their sponsors happy and make money. But the old days of journalism, unfortunately, with Walter Cronkite, are long gone. And I think at best,
Tabloid news.
you're getting 25% of the story. To be honest with you, if you're lucky, um, how many real investigative journalism has there been about the debt and the fact that the Pentagon can't account for trillions of dollars? Has there been a 60 Minutes? I know that maybe 60 Minutes is the wrong thing to bring up because two of their executives quit because they said they can't do stories like they used to. That was the gold standard. But where are those journalism stories about the money disappearing and covert military operations? You don't see them because they're not, ladies and gentlemen, they're not allowed to do them, unfortunately. And it's not fair to the American public. And that's why independent journalism, I think, is going to become extremely important as the years go on. Because I think people are realizing slowly you can't just turn on CNN or CNBC or Fox News and be told exactly what's happening.
And I think citizen journalism is going to be more prevalent as we move forward. People actually telling their stories and putting their side of the story out there, because you can't count on the legacy media to do that. They're going to put out what they think is going to get the most clicks because they've become tabloid media. And so you really, you start to depend on, like you said, independent journalists and citizen journalists so that you can get the real story.
Well, the real story about Bitcoin is there's a good chance our buddy, which we'll talk about a little bit, as Bitcoin actually makes a run right now at 107K. Michael Saylor is going to buy some Bitcoin, and he's taken on a little bit more duties. We'll talk about that. But MetaPlanet just acquired 1,112 Bitcoin. The MicroStrategy of Japan, so this is kind of a perfect lead-in to talk about Saylor later, has reached an important milestone, having accumulated over 10,000 Bitcoin. This doesn't get a lot of press, but slowly you're seeing, and also Vietnam, voted to make cryptocurrency legal. Okay, you're seeing this stuff. It's slow and slow and slow and slow, but adoption is slowly happening. And there's a lot of distractions from that. Obviously, people are not paying attention to crypto adoption right now. There's a lot of other stuff going on, except for people like us. But lost in the chaos is the fact that, forget about some of the alts that are worthless, but Bitcoin itself is gaining more and more traction with regular investors and powerful investors.
Yeah, and that's really when we talk about the smart money, right? We talk about following the smart money and doing what the smart money does. But I don't know. I still don't know if this time is the best time to buy Bitcoin, right? Like, are we really in buy mode, or should we do something like, I heard on another channel they talked about buying only when the fear and greed index is in fear or extreme fear. But I just don't know. With everything going on, I'm not sure that we're going to get to that 150 and 180 mark. Because remember, I mean, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but 50,000 in price action for Bitcoin equals about $1 trillion in market cap. And $1 trillion just doesn't appear out of nowhere unless you're printing it like the US government. But it just
Well,
doesn't
global
appear
money
in the
supply has
investment.
been printing. Global money
Right.
supply has been printing. And I
But it's
think more and more countries
in
that are
itself
dragged
into
into
Bitcoin.
conflict I think those people will be looking to Bitcoin now as a way to save their uh, as like
As a
a
safe haven for their money
yeah,
as it begins
that
to
gold used to be, and gold
appreciate.
still is. But think about it. If you're in a country and all of a sudden you're dragged in, you can safe haven your way into Bitcoin in one click. Gold is a little more complicated. You got to go out and get it. You got to physically go out and get it. And
And
some people might.
we're not gold and silver haters on the show. I certainly don't want people to think that. Those are certainly good stores of value, and if you hold gold or silver, you're not you're certainly not an idiot or someone who's doing something wrong. You're again placing your money into something that is appreciating as your dollar is depreciating. And so, if whether you're investing in Bitcoin or gold or silver, just make sure you're getting into something that appreciates while your dollar depreciates, because that's really what you're fighting against.
Well, this is personal for you. This is good news for the Mr. FOMO household, as you have not canceled your future vacation to Pakistan yet. You've had to the others, and look at
Oh,
this.
can't wait.
You might meet Michael Saylor there. Um, Michael Saylor is appointed official Bitcoin advisor to the government of Pakistan. Now, remember, the government of Pakistan does have plans to incorporate a Bitcoin reserve. And listen, it wouldn't shock me if they were more aggressive than the U.S. at this point and got this done before. We'll see. I think some of the countries, the news here is the U.S. is not the only one. Now, the U.S. technically is doing this, but they have not announced how much or how they're going to get the Bitcoin. So this is interesting to me on a lot of levels. Also, obviously, Michael Saylor was supposed to buy. He posted yesterday afternoon on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, belated to all of you. That he was going to buy some more Bitcoin today as well. But this is interesting. Um, you know, listen, not going to go too much into the weeds, but Pakistan is trying to assert itself around the world right now, and this is a major step. So I found this interesting. What's your reaction, Mr. FOMO?
I think it is interesting. I wouldn't be making any trips to Pakistan. I know we joke about my future vacations, but I wouldn't be making any trips to the Middle East right now. I mean,
Technically,
especially,
Pakistan is not part of the Middle East, but I understand what you're trying to say.
but Pakistan is asserting itself into the Iran-Israel conflict, right? I mean, aren't they saying that if this is done, if X is done, we'll do Y? Aren't they saying you can't?
Well, Pakistan has been very, very serious about making sure that their pants are not caught down if there would be a nuclear attack. Let's put it that way without getting too much in. So, yeah, they're, you know, but a
Right.
little
And
bit of heat
so,
never scared. A little bit of heat never scared the Mr. FOMO, household. I mean, you guys are living in Florida, so. But in all seriousness, look, they're very serious about getting a Bitcoin reserve, and they've been in contact with Michael Saylor. So I just found that interesting.
well, I think if you're pulling in Sailor and your goal is to create a Bitcoin reserve, you're doing the right thing, right? If you want a Bitcoin absolutist and you want somebody who knows a little bit about dollar cost averaging Bitcoin on the regular, Sailor's your guy.
Yeah.
But he
So
does create
if you're
he does create debt in order to accumulate his Bitcoin. So I'm not. Some of what he does is a bit of an antithesis, or a bit of the antithesis to what Bitcoin is about. Um, but if you want a smart guy who knows what he's talking about with Bitcoin, Sailor's your guy.
yeah, and if you have trepidations about going down there, maybe you could coordinate with sailors. You guys are together, but we'll save that for off the air. Um, I'm really curious about your assertion that you're worried that we won't get to 115, 180. Are you worried at all? And this is a topic that other shows won't touch. Are you worried at all? I'm not, that we have double topped. Um, with
Well,
this.
This bull run has proven itself to be quite unique, and so I wouldn't rule out a triple top. But remember, double topping is something that we've done before, and then the bull run disappeared. And while we're talking about Sailor is one that doesn't believe in the cycle anymore. I talked about that a little bit last week. There are those that believe that there's a broken cycle. We're just going to go up and up and up forever. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think we've hit a broken cycle. I think we are going to have another bear market. And I don't think that all these things that are happening around the world are really going to let us get to these crazy all-time highs that people are predicting. I don't think 200 is in play for sure. Again, I will do shows every day. If we get to 200, or if we get to 1 million or 500,000, I'll be ecstatic. I don't want people to think that I'm one of those people who is knocking down Bitcoin or dogging Bitcoin, but I just don't think that we can get that kind of momentum with the wars that are going on around the world and with trade wars potentially still flaring up with the US and other major economies. So, that being said, I hope it does happen. I hope we do get to new all-time highs. I just don't see it in the cards. And as for your question about the double top, I know I kind of left it, but double tops have been the way we ended our bull runs in the past. So, I wouldn't rule that out if I were a savvy investor, right?
No, by the way, I would watch ETH a lot. A lot of posters were saying the ETH chart looks amazing before Friday's events. So we've seen Bitcoin kind of recover here. What I'm watching here is ETH. A sign that we could overcome all this would be ETH establishing itself over 3K. I think that would be significant. I would love to see that this week. So keep it here. We're going to have hopefully daily shows for you guys.
Let's talk about Shaq.
Oh yeah. Before we leave, Shaq, tell our viewers about Shaq because this was interesting. This might anger a lot of our ex-Voyager people, including myself, when I saw this.
All right,
talk about this.
Let's talk about Shaq. Shaq has agreed to pay 1.8 million to settle the FTX class action lawsuit against him. He's not admitting any fault. And he's actually paying out $1 million more than he received to be a spokesperson for FTX. But this is going to change the way athletes look at their deals and the way that celebrities look at their deals, because other people are going to have to fall in line after this. Tom Brady, Larry David, there are a lot of people that were there with FTX that are going to have to pay out and looks like potentially more than they took in because of this FTX fraud. What I am upset about, and I know you're upset about, is that you're not seeing this type of thing happen to people who are involved with Voyager or Celsius.
It's too late.
Right. And so you would have loved to see people like, actually, I don't say you would have loved to see people like Gronk pay back money, but you certainly would have liked to see the wind down debtor go after some of these people in order to make some of the people who were burned whole, right? I'm sure some of these celebrities not only got paid, but they received free crypto in these transactions.
And hopefully we'll have a Voyager update, but I just think it's too late for this stuff now. We're going over 2 years now.
Well, it's not too late for the FTX people, so we'll see. But it's up to the wind down debtor to file a lawsuit like this, to my thinking, or is it up to Voyager claim? Like, is it up to us? Are we supposed to start a class action lawsuit? Are we supposed to call a lawyer and get that started? Is that how that ball gets rolling?
No, I think supposedly they've looked into it and they've decided not to do these kind of things, and we'll leave it at that. It's
out of some moral or ethical.
I look, the Voyager thing was mishandled horrifically from the start. I don't want to redo that show today. Maybe, you know, at some point we'll do a Voyager and Respective show to talk about what could have been, and that's not a bad idea actually. To talk about what could have been and how that has affected the market, alone with everything. I mean, it's the funny thing is Coinbase is the one guy left standing here. That and Crypto.com of the old
Kraken.
network 4 years ago. Yeah, Kraken as well. It's you know, it is what it is, but we're hopefully you'll recover with us. And I'm going to try to get positive this week and will our way to 115K, hopefully. But we're going to do more and more shows no matter what. So we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Well, Plan
Or
B said that we were going to be at 130 by the end of June. So we've got, what, 14 more days to get that going? And so we'll see if we can get to 130. Crazier things have happened in Bitcoin. I just don't see it happening with all the wild stuff happening around the planet, right? Like
we will have to
there's
wait
too
and
many crazy things going on for Bitcoin to reach
we'll have
150
to
or
wait and see.
130 or whatever.
I would say this week, watch ETH. Let's see what does or does not happen with the United States. That's big. And we'll go from there. Take it one day at a time. But we appreciate you guys. Hey, share the show. If you haven't subscribed, what the hell are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. For MrFOMO, the AZcrypto.